Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino, and we are back for Hit or Quit, part 2 of our coverage of jury duty. And today we'll be talking about the back half of Freevee's jury duty as we find out what happened with Ronald as he found out that everything was real. Of course, I am back here with a woman who keeps it real, Jenny Autumn. Jenny, how are you?
Oh, I'm so good. My cup is very full today after finishing this series. I feel great. I mean, I didn't, win $100,000, but pretty
Hmm.
close. I'm
Yeah.
feeling spiritually rich right now after this viewing experience.
Yes, this was very fun. The back half, especially, I really enjoyed it. I felt like that things got pretty fun in terms of like towards the end of the court case, and then the reveal episode was an all timer. So,
Yeah.
really excited to talk about that here today on Jury Duty, which has kind of become kind of a hit.
I mean, we already declared it a hit, Rob.
Well, but
So
I feel like a
the
ton of
jury's not out
people.
on that.
It took a little while for us to get here. And I know that there were some real ones who were saying that we should be watching it earlier on. It took us,
Mhm.
we probably might have stuck with the Race to Survive, Alaska a week too long.
Yeah,
But
we were
yeah,
bamboozled.
this was really, really fun.
Yeah. Um that I kind of this is why I don't like things that are released in bunches because I I didn't love watching this knowing that people had already watched it and enjoyed it because I felt like I was late. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I don't like that
That's how
feeling.
they
I think
get
that
you.
this
Then that's how people end up watching shows at 4 o'clock in the morning.
I just don't tell me how to live my life,
Hmm.
streaming, companies.
Freebie.
I like a weekly drop of one thing. Like I'm sorry, I've got other stuff going on in my week. I'm clearly a very, very busy and important person. I
Hmm.
don't want to have to watch 4 episodes of something to stay on top of something with everyone else. That gives me anxiety. Give me one thing a week. Even Big
Hmm.
Brother sometimes is too much with like 3 freaking episodes a week. I don't
Hmm.
know. So I don't like when streaming shows do these like multiple episodes at once dropped. So I'm feeling very good that we are at least on the same page as all the other jury duty stands. And we've finally gotten there because I knew that this final episode I gotten the word that the final episode was going to answer the questions and do a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that we were talking about not getting to see throughout the first however many episodes. So I knew it was coming, but I was like
Yeah.
I get the anxiety. I was like, I just want to be on the same page as everyone. I want to be able to talk openly about it. So I feel a weight lifted off of me that we are now caught up with the real ones that let us know that this needed to be watched.
Yeah, and this was super fun. I'm so
Yeah.
glad we're here. I'm so glad that we did this, Jenny. And so I just want to know, what would your reaction be to one day getting Joe Schmoed, getting jury dutied?
Listen, if they are are telling me what a wonderful person I am, what a hero I am, and then telling me that I get 100K, I don't care how bamboozled I got.
Yeah.
Like that is wonderful. Like as long as I know that I was not painted as a bad person, I am fine being painted as a stupid person. That
Yeah.
is totally okay with me. I would rather be kind. I would rather be considered kind and good-hearted than the smartest person in the room. And I've always felt that way. So that's why
Mhm.
I was saying this to Phil when we were watching it. I was like, this would be me. Like I would be Ronald, I think, in that I can be a little gullible. I can be a little naive. And I think that I would sincerely love and make the most of the opportunity of being around these characters and getting to know them. And like, so I loved that part of it. So listen, I'm not like looking to be like, misled in my life, but if it happened under the circumstances that Ronald was, I think that's a net positive. He's the hero of a story he didn't know he was going to be the hero of and comes
Mm-hmm.
out of this 100K richer. Like, where is the downside? I think the only thing that would maybe like mess with you is like the relationships he built with all these people and then like finding out that they were like all actors. But we even get that kind of explained in the final episode where it's like, yeah, they're actors, but like because it was like 24/7 basically, they're also being a lot of themselves. So even that you wouldn't be like that upset about because you're like, the person I got to know is kind of you.
Yeah.
So listen, this is different than Joe Schmoing. Like, this is different. And I would be fine with it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be replying to Craigslist ads now, I guess. I don't know, hoping that they do a Canadian version.
Right. Yeah, I wish that we got more into like how did they know he was the right guy?
I wonder how many people have spoken out. Like, I bet you there's got to be like TikToks of people being like, I saw the ad, I replied to the ad, like, because we saw like in the final episode, they like there was like a shot of like all the email replies to the Craigslist.
Yeah.
I think they said like 200 people or
I
something like
think they
that.
said 2,500.
Again, I'm bad with numbers.
Yes.
So, maybe so that's wild to me. Like, how many people did they just got videos? Because we saw like a little snippet of Ronald's video. They had to have just seen something in him that
I
he
mean,
was like,
maybe
he was
they were
just
just
so
like they
normal.
got people that they got a good message back and they asked them to make a video, and that was like the
Yeah,
second
maybe.
round of it. But
Do you
yeah,
think they like stalked like his social media and stuff? And they're like, this is the
probably. I mean,
guy.
it's
Like,
like yeah, they're doing casting. Jenny, my question for you is Ronald super? Is he the nicest person ever, or
no.
might he just be extremely conflict avoidant?
Yes, he's a 9. And I don't mean a 9 out of 10.
Mhm.
I mean a 9 out of 9.
If the shoe fits, yeah.
um I think and that's why he was such a perfect person because he wasn't perfect. He's not you can tell he's not a perfect person. There's like a few things he says like throughout this whole process that are like, what's the story here? Like this guy is not like the cleanest record for sure. Like he's probably done some things in his life that he's maybe not proud of. But he's good natured
Did he
and
podcast about the which Beyond the Edge?
oh no.
I was like, which one? Which one should I do?
Which one's the one? Which one should I choose here? What's the bad one? No, he like I think that they just got something from him that like this guy is unassuming. He doesn't seem I don't know. I would really love to know more about the actual process of selecting him because he was perfect. And it almost seems that they didn't even realize how perfect he would be because they had to have gone into this thinking that there is a high likeliness that this all goes wrong at some point. We don't get to the end of this supposed case because there's the one variable that you can't control in Ronald.
Mhm.
And they had to have seen something in him that they were like, he is malleable enough and he's going to listen to whatever we say and he's not going to argue with us and he's not going to like, kind of disrupt things. So he's the perfect straight man here. And like he really was. But I think that like against all of these other characters, like he had to almost just be like extra normal to kind of like create a
Mhm.
balance. So I think he was like even just like rising to the occasion of being like stable, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, he was a great anchor around all of I mean, this really was like a sitcom,
It
more
was.
so than a
Yeah.
reality
You
show
lose
because
yourself in it. Yeah.
yeah, where he was really the straight man with all these other like very eccentric characters all along the way. Jenny, do you think that this would have been maybe better as 6 episodes instead of 8 episodes?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know because I almost think that I would have loved more of what we got in episode 8.
Hmm.
Um because
Maybe the last episode should have been an hour.
I said I could watch 3 hours straight of this part because
Yeah.
it was so cool to see everything exposed and hear him like going through all of the different things that almost went wrong, and like that stuff was so interesting to me, and like having everyone drop the facade and like talk to him real and all of the realizations, like that was so comforting to me that I literally could have watched so much more of that. So I think that like, but we got so many more of the characters fleshed out by having the I guess 7 proper episodes.
Mhm.
But because I watched them in 2 bunches, I didn't feel like it needed to be a lot less episodes. The episodes were short. I don't know. Do you feel like it should have been 6?
I feel like that maybe there might have been like some parts that were like a little bit maybe like especially in the early going that were like a little slower. But all in all, I just was very high on the show.
It paid off. Here's the
Yeah.
thing. Like it
They stuck
all
the
of it paid
landing
off.
really well.
Yeah, and, like, some of the characters, we got, like, a really good sense of who they were early, which made it, like, because it was good to have, like, in the early goings of the show, like, a scene set with, like, a bunch of people where you're like, "Okay, this person's, like, that's their character, and that's their character." And then you had, like, some of the background characters where they were, like, their thing was, like, slow rolled, which is a good way of doing it if you're wanting to give Ronald the you couldn't go like level 10
Yeah.
wild with all of these characters from the jump because that's too sus.
Well,
So
I saw
like
an interview with James Marsden where he talked about how, like, yeah, okay, it looked like everything was crazy, but it would be like we would do like one thing crazy. It's like, all right, now back to like, we got to make this trial like super boring for the next 6 hours to sort of
yeah.
like cover our tracks so he doesn't like suspect anything.
Well, that's the thing, and, like, we obviously for the show, we're seeing, like, all of the really, like, wild things that were happening, but we ended up finding out there was, like, 30 hours of testimony.
Yeah.
Like, how much time of testimony did we actually see in the show? Like, 5 minutes? Like,
Hmm.
you know? So, like, the fact that they grabbed, like, the wildest 5 minutes of the fake testimony and that the jurors were all there for 30 hours worth of it, like,
Hmm.
yeah, there had to have been enough mundane stuff filling the blanks that
Yeah.
it holds it up more. So,
Jenny, can they do jury duty season 2?
absolutely not.
Yeah, I think absolutely not.
No, I think so. I don't think
Oh,
so.
yeah, I definitely think they could. Why do you think they can't?
So you think that it enough so okay, I guess you're counting on the idea that enough not enough people watched or like heard about this show that they could pull this stunt again and find somebody else that is unaware.
I think that the biggest wrinkle they would have would be finding the person. Like if they put up a Craigslist ad that was similar to the first one, I think it would be all over like internet sites, and people would be like, "Oh, it looks like there's another jury duty that's
Yeah.
casting." But
So you
if they
can't do
could
the same
find
method of
they
finding them.
finding it, but if you could go like some way around like finding another person who, I don't know, if you went like on a college campus and we're just like looking for people that would be part of like a court case. Or I wonder if maybe if it's not quite like jury duty, but it's some sort of like other similar situation where I got to be honest, that this made me want to be on a jury. Like I was like, oh my god, this is like an adopted family that I always never knew I wanted, but here they
No,
are.
that's
It's
I
it's very
it's
close
it
to
made
being
me
in a
wanna do
reality TV cast. That I think that's
this
like a similar
yeah.
like here's a bunch of random people and they're your family now.
That's why I said I would be Ronald because honestly, I would almost be Ross because like I would grow such an
You wouldn't want to
affection
go
for these
home.
people. I wouldn't want to go home.
Yeah.
And
We don't
I
want to
think that
discuss your home life
yeah, I
if
don't
there's
sorry,
issues.
Phil.
Yeah.
But I I just don't know what other scenarios you could do this with. And if you do literally like a
Boot
jury
camp.
situation again, boot camp, not too soon, Rob.
Fail.
Too soon.
Oh, can I tell you? I think that Jenny, this is just like jogging my memory. I'm pretty sure I had in like my fever dreams of not feeling well this week. I'm pretty sure that I had a dream that I was like hanging out with Billy Billingham.
What were you doing?
I don't know. I was like sort of like now
He was just
that I
there?
was like had somehow like befriended him, but I was like, oh, if this guy ever finds out that like I did a podcast and was like making fun of
Oh,
him,
no.
he's gonna destroy me.
That's
And
an
so I just
anxiety dream, Rob.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like I mean world's toughest test nightmare. So
Yeah, that's
many
like that
many months
like
later.
speaking to your fear of like
Yeah,
this real life person who is scary as hell and could beat the shit out of you. No offense. You did a podcast for several weeks
sure.
dunking on him, and if he finds out and you
Yeah,
meet
he's
him in
gonna
real
take me to
life,
some like black site where he's just gonna like torture me.
yeah, you're totally like you're getting right into the
Mhm.
gas shipping container.
Sure, sure. I wonder maybe is there like some sort of like you know you accept the job and you go to some
Like
sort
truly
of
the
like
office.
yeah, but you accept some job and you go to like some sort of like I feel like that there's companies like that they do like some sort of like training seminar, training
Yeah.
retreat where it's like you and all the people that are accepting this position have to like okay, you're going for like 2-week training
Yeah.
in like some remote location and sort of you're stuck with people for like maybe they wouldn't go back to a courtroom, but
Right.
maybe there's some other place that they could do something like this.
Yeah, and if they can make it different enough while still following the same sort of formula, like then possibly because my other concern besides like can they properly get someone who like would be as unassuming as Ronald is that like I think that if they run it again with like just a different trial and different actors but it's still a jury duty thing, like nothing is gonna hit like the first. You know what I mean? We're gonna be
Mhm.
like, it's just not. No matter what, I just can't see like the second result working as well as the first because also just because it won't be fresh. And I think that that same problem would be applied in even a different scenario. But I do agree. Like, I think that there's just so much. There's so many things now. Like, there's so many like documentaries, like behind the scenes stuff that like you probably could pull one over on somebody that to give some sort of reason why there's like cameras and you're doing confessionals and stuff like that. Like, there's a reality show for freaking everything at this point. So
Mhm.
I do think that you probably could pull one over on another person in a different scenario. I just don't I would still worry that it would just not have the same purity of like
It would be
execution.
tough, but I think that they could figure out another way to do it.
I would love to hear people's ideas, you know, on what could really work or what would like give that same sort of
Mhm.
experience because I love this kind of like comedy. Like it was just so enjoyable. Like even like the parts where I was getting lost in the fact that it was like that Ronald was actually a real person. Like it I was completely engrossed in it. Like that kind of stuff is so funny to me. So I would watch no matter what, I would watch this again if they did something else, even knowing that it might not be exactly like as good. I would still watch it because I love
Mhm.
that.
Jenny, when they pulled back the cameras and they were revealing everything, I got a little lost with why did they have to eat so many lunches?
Thank you. Oh my god. Okay, so I had to get Phil to rewind this and he was like trying to explain it to me and I was still confused and he said maybe Rob can explain it to you better, but
So I
you're as
would
confused as I am.
imagine that there's like and I wasn't sure I heard it correctly, but and maybe like our listeners can help us. So I think that there's probably like on a set there are specific rules of you need to the actors need to break after so long, and so
Like
because their
labor laws, you
lunch.
mean?
Yeah,
Like
their labor,
okay.
their but because I'm sure it was like a union production, and
Right.
so the union is going to say like, oh no, that like if you know your actors need to get like an hour lunch break, and they need to so, and I don't know if they needed to eat during, they needed to be fed during their hour lunch break, and so then are they not really supposed to be eating in like could they just even if they got the break? Did they have to eat a lunch before they went back on the set? That's really the part that I'm confused about.
I know, because we got
Where it's like you're just sitting around all day. There's nothing else to do but eat. So
well, and I was trying to figure out like how were they getting all of these times to do these rehearsals without Ronald, because they showed like scenes of all of them eating or like talking about the
yeah,
lunch.
where was Ronald
Where
during
was
the crew
Ronald?
lunch?
Like, how did they get all of these opportunities? Like, I understood the one part where like they were waiting on the COVID test or whatever, and they did like the whole day um of rehearsals. But like that, the lunch thing was so confusing to me, because I was like, why don't they just eat the lunch at the time they're eating the lunch as the
Mm-hmm.
characters? Why did they need to eat lunch at a different
Yeah.
time too? Like, that was so
And did
confusing to
Ronald
me.
do like an hour of interviews while everybody else was eating lunch at the same time every single day?
I guess, like, but then like, why would you eat the lunch knowing you were gonna have to eat fake eat lunch later?
Maybe
It's
it's
like,
just delicious lunches.
I mean, I guess. Like, I thought what they were saying was like, okay, put in your order now and then just repeat that so we know what to order, so it's ready, and
Mm-hmm.
repeat that when you take the orders tomorrow. I didn't realize, like, I didn't understand why it meant there were two actual lunches. It was just like, just eat the lunch when it comes to you.
Yeah,
But
we don't
they were
know. We
saying
don't.
Pat McCurdy was like, oh, it was a lot of food. I had to eat lunch like twice. I was like, why
Mm-hmm.
though? That part was so confusing to me. So I'm glad that you also were confused by it. I need so much more information from like the actors in this, about like all the little things that were happening and like how it all worked. Like, so many questions still. I really am grateful for the final episode, and we did get like a lot explained, but I feel like I still have like a million more questions that could be answered.
As we all do. As we all
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Jenny, let's talk through the 4 episodes we
Okay.
watched. We spent a lot of time talking about episode 8, but there was a lot of fun stuff that
Oh my
happened in
gosh.
episodes 5 and 6 in particular. And then
Yes.
7, it was like a lot of business.
Yes. 7 was, the deliberation, which was fun and interesting in its own way, and it was like a good lead up to like the
Mm-hmm.
final. But like, we still had lots of like wacky plot line stuff for the characters in episode 5 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think we get
Yeah.
into episode 5, which is like when things really really fall apart on the defense side of the case.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to highlight so Brandon, he really
Wait, why do you
has
think this man's name is Brandon?
sorry, but I don't know.
You
I don't
know
know.
someone named Brandon
Yeah, I
that
don't
looks
know.
like Ronald?
I know it's the second time I've done that. I guess he does look like
Who's
a Brandon.
I mean,
But yeah, I don't know
I could
why.
see it, but I just want to know who
That his
Brandon
name
is.
is Ronald Gladden. I don't know if the
Yeah,
end
it's
of
like
the.
an anagram or
I don't know.
something.
I don't know why I keep doing that. I apologize. But yeah, he really in James Marsden's career. He
For
is
the sex drive.
a fan of the film Sex Drive,
I didn't know that this was a
2008's
thing.
Sex Drive. Should this go to
2008?
the crappy movie diaper?
At this point, I vote for it because
It's a very crappy movie if you hang out with James Marsden.
well, and they say you can't make that movie today. So,
You can't make a movie like that today.
yeah.
And we got the
Um,
whole like synopsis. I have not seen this movie,
I
Sex
certainly
Drive.
haven't.
Yeah. But
At first,
yeah,
I thought I was mixing it up with Road Trip.
yeah. I mean, Road Trip I
With
think is similar.
Tom Green, right?
Yes. And that is I feel like that's like
I think I
2001
was in
Road
high
Trip.
school when I saw
Yeah.
that. So, yeah, that
Yeah.
tracks.
So this was
Um,
sort of like the last gasp for like the raunchy like teen like R-rated comedy.
yeah, and like that's why these are the little indicators to me that like Ronald is not like the squeakiest clean
Mhm.
character in the world. Like you get Ronald being like, you can't make a movie like that today. Ha ha ha. Like, and what he knows James Marsden from most is Sex Drive. Like,
Mhm.
there's something there, okay?
It's a 45% on Rotten Tomatoes for
Perfect.
Sex Drive. I did think that James Marsden like really like was very funny
Oh
in
my
throughout
gosh.
all of this, and especially
Yeah.
like playing up against this that he was like, oh yeah, no, you couldn't do that.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Um,
But according to Rotten Tomatoes, they say it's crushingly generic stuff, a combination of gross out gags and clammy sentiment. But Seth Green's cameo as a sardonic Amish car mechanic has its moments. Spoiler
Seth
alert.
Green.
Yeah.
There was a point in one of the episodes, speaking of Seth Green, after Todd gets his makeover, that Phil said that he
Mm,
looked like Seth Green.
I could see it. I
Yeah, I
could
could
see
see
it.
it once his hair was done and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Wait, was Seth Green also in Road Trip? I'm
With
mixing
Seth
things
Green
up.
in Road Trip, I'm going to
I know
say
Tom
that
Green. Oh wait, no, Tom Green is in.
Tom Green, yeah, his
Maybe
brother.
I'm just like mixing up my greens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yes.
colorblind, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, James Marsden just coming up in that one, I think.
Will RHAP get canceled if you do Sex Drive in the crappy
Actually, no,
movie
James
theater?
Marsden was in a million things before before Sex Drive. He
Well, I
has
was gonna
been
say, I feel like he's been
yeah,
an
he was
actor long
there
before
was in
Sex Drive.
the middle of his career at that point. Yeah.
This is like
He's been around
a
for
valley,
forever.
not a
Yeah.
peak.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess what was his big break, James Marsden? That
He's
he
just an actor that like, well, again, I don't watch a lot of movies. So but like he's just one of those people I'm like, I know who he is, but I could have never told you what he was in.
yeah.
Um,
X-Men, I think, is probably
you don't
uh
lead with X-Men,
you don't
is
lead
what
with
she said.
X-Men, but I think that's his first like big role. Unless he like again on Al, I don't know how he mentioned Ally McBeal. I don't know how
Mhm.
much he was a factor
He was
on
appealing to the
The
judge.
Ally McBeal.
His old stuff.
He's on yeah one season of Ally McBeal, but that came after the first X-Men.
Okay.
And
When
then
was the
and
first X-Men?
2000.
Oh.
So yeah, that's how long
I might have even seen that in the theater and just not paid
yes.
attention,
Yeah,
honestly.
so
That was a lot of my high school experience was going to
yeah,
movies and
and
not
then
paying attention.
2004, The Notebook. He was the guy in The
The
Notebook.
other guy,
I know,
he
I
was the
know.
guy that should have been chosen. Wow, spoilers for
Yeah.
The Notebook. I am gonna go
Mhm.
back and watch it, actually. Phil and I were discussing this morning, that is saying he's like, "Well, we have to watch The Notebook." I've
But
never
all right,
seen
and
it.
then balance it out with Sex Drive.
Yeah, we'll do The Notebook to Sex Drive and then compare and contrast.
Should that be the Renap episode?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like it's a James Marsden double date, and
Yeah.
you do
Yeah.
both, I
Yeah.
think.
Life on Marsden, and then
Yeah.
you end up dealing with
Yeah. I
the
love
Notebook.
that. Life on Marsden, and you do The Notebook and Sex
Mission to
Drive
Marsden.
with especially focusing in on the performance of James Marsden in both films.
Mhm.
Put it on the
Yeah.
wheel.
Yeah. Really, and then if you were gonna do that podcast, I know this is not Robin keeping the podcast. It's like, okay,
Sorry,
you
guys.
want like, sort of like, okay, who's like sort of like the person that's the most against type to watch The Notebook and the person that's the most against type to watch Sex Drive.
Exactly.
And they have to,
Exactly.
like role reversal. Oh,
It's
yeah,
perfect.
it's perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Tell Akiva. Maybe
Yeah.
Akiva will listen. He said it because he really liked Jury Duty as
Oh,
well.
he watched it? Okay. Yeah,
Yes, he
Akiva,
was a fan.
put it on the wheel, baby.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that luckily they didn't do a viewing of Sex Drive.
No, James just signs the Ronald where also, like, how did Ronald get his copy of it? Like,
I
did
don't
he
know.
have, 'cause he's staying at the hotel, like, did he get it before, like, when he had to pack to stay at the hotel? Because that was the one thing where it was very confusing to me, because it was like, how did he get, or did he, oh, do you think he picked that up at the mall when him and Vanessa took Todd for his makeover? Do you think he
Maybe
bought a
might have been like in
DVD
the
copy?
99-cent DVD pile.
Do they still sell like physical DVDs
I
and
think
stuff?
so, especially if you go to like
Like at
the
Walmart.
Dollar Tree or something like that. Like those.
They sell that at Dollar Tree?
Mm-hmm.
They sell video?
Oh, they still sell like new DVDs also.
Really?
Yeah, you go to Target and stuff like that. They always have DVDs out.
We don't have Target in
Oh,
Canada
okay.
anymore. It's
All right.
a sore spot.
Well, speaking of movies, the one thing that just killed me was that they got the testimony from the friend of the defendant,
Trevor. Yeah, Trevor's friend.
Trevor.
I don't know.
Yes,
I don't
Trevor.
remember the
Yeah,
friend's name.
and this character witness was allegedly found mastering his own domain
Oh no.
at a movie theater. Now, when they
The
said
Grove.
what was the movie theater? The Grove. I mean, this
The
is
Grove.
like a big, like this is
I've heard of the Grove.
a popular destination in Los Angeles. This is like this is not like some like empty area. So
Yeah,
this is
it's
like a
not like
very
a
very
commercial.
popular destination in Los Angeles. And then
You
they asked
can't
him,
imagine an empty movie theater at the Grove, right?
you wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
But then when they asked what was the movie, the choice of Pacific Rim Uprising was so inspired.
You have to think that maybe like there's been like a corn parody of Pacific Rim Uprising, right? I think there's something there. It could be
Yes. It
Pacific
took me a
Rimming
second to pick up what you're
Uprising.
putting down. Yeah.
But I don't think that is the movie that they're
Mhm.
saying he was watching.
Yes.
Because they did ask, they're like, and this was not a pornographic movie.
Yes.
No.
The Pacific Rim occupation.
so and apparently this is one of the funny little things from Ken, where Ken he says Pacific Rim Uprising, I believe that is the second one.
Yes.
I watched it. I did not feel aroused.
No, I don't think it's a sexy movie. It's
No,
sex
it's about
drive.
robots. Like
Yeah.
I know nothing about
Ronald
this.
was like, haven't seen that one.
Sorry, it's not racy enough.
Pacific Rim Uprising was 2018.
Oh, so this is recent.
Yes.
Me saying 2018 is recent. My time is very
well. The first one I think was only like 2013, so
okay.
it took a while for them to come back with the second one, Pacific Rim Uprising. I mean, yeah, it stars John Boyega, good looking guy.
Don't know who that is. Should I Google him?
You can Google him. He's in best known as Finn in the Star Wars sequels.
Oh, he's a British actor.
Charlie Day is in it.
Is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
he's in Star Wars? He's in a bunch of Star Wars.
Yeah. Were any of the robots anatomically correct or anything like that?
Or did they have a half-cut cucumber?
Yes. Looking at the poster, they don't look too sexy. Although they look kind of ripped.
Listen,
Pretty muscular.
Everybody has a special interest in something. You know what I mean? There's somebody out there that is really attracted to the robots, and it might have just been this fictional person who is Trevor's friend.
Yes. Yeah. The tagline was "Rise up," like not like that.
Okay, well, he was just listening to his directions. He's just, he's very compliant. This young man. I don't know how young, but
yeah. So we also in the 5th episode get some more of the drama between Noah and his girlfriend over everything that was going on with their breakup, where Noah got drunk allegedly and then ended up telling off his girlfriend, and then he puts Ronald on the phone.
Yeah.
And then she tells Ronald to tell him it's over. Now he does not. Was this nice? Is this nice to not tell Noah that his relationship is over?
So this is where we get into the question that you had of, is Ronald a good person, or is he just conflict averse? And, I don't blame him in this situation where he's like, I'm not being the messenger here, where I'm like speaking for this woman. Like, this is not my problem. I did what he asked me to. I told her that he did not mean to get drunk, that he was given the wrong drinks and got intoxicated. That was all that he was supposed to do. And he does not feel responsible for relaying a breakup. That's not part of the deal. So he's probably thinking at some point these two are going to talk again. This is not my problem. I think that this man is just trying to pick his battles here. You know what I mean? Like, he can't inject himself into like every single crazy
Hmm.
situation as much as he's being pulled into them. So I think that Ronald's being a little avoidant here, being like, yeah, she's pretty mad. She hung up. Without having to say for sure that she said to tell Noah that it's over. I
Yeah.
think at this point he's like, listen, he probably knows the deal. I don't need to say it. But do you think, Rob, do you think that he did a bad there? You think that he should have said, yeah, she said that it's over?
um, I think he probably did it. He did say eventually, it's like, I think you two need to talk. I think you
Right.
need to call her back.
Yeah, call her again, like when
Yeah.
I'm not around because I don't want to be involved in
Yeah, because
this.
what is she gonna say? I told your friend Ronald that I broke up with you. Why are you calling me?
And then if you're Ronald, you say she was screaming. I had no idea what she was saying.
Yeah.
And then she hung up. I didn't realize she said that.
Mm-hmm.
Claim
Yeah.
ignorance, okay?
Miscommunication.
Come
Right.
on. What
Right.
would you do, Rob? Do you think you relay that, or do you just
Yeah,
do
because I
you
feel
do what
like
Ronald
that
did?
I do think it is important to like tell like a hard truth when it directly involves you, but it's not. This
Like, this
is,
is not his problem.
yeah, this
He's
was
known
not
this
my
guy for how
burden.
long?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Where it is going like I'll issue a tough truth if it's something that I feel like ultimately is going to improve a situation for me, but for a person I'm on the jury with, I don't know.
See, and again, it's hard to say because you don't like you don't know how that relationship feels to you.
Mhm.
I think that I would probably say she says it's over, but she sounds really mad. You guys should probably have another conversation later.
Right.
It's like, it's kind of like the soft sell kind of where it's like maybe it's not over. She's really mad right now. That is what she said. You figure that out.
Mhm. All
But
right.
I don't know.
So the big thing that happens in the trial ends up being that we have the defendant. What's his name?
Trevor Morris?
Trevor. Yes, that he ends up. His lawyer. I don't know what he was trying to say, but he ends up saying that he's getting ineffective assistance of counsel.
Yeah, so the we also got like the testimony from Trevor's mom,
Yes.
who was also like being like he's very irresponsible and like does not a good character witness again. And this is like a witness that the defense also called, I believe. So we already have the defense getting really bad testimony from the friend, from the mom, and then the defense lawyer gets Trevor up on the stand and is literally asking him questions as if they are the prosecutor. Like they just totally like laying him over the coals. Like
Hmm.
to the point where Trevor's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'd never heard this term of the what was it, the ineffective
Assistance of
uh
counsel. I had not known about it either,
he
but
Googled it. That's what he
yes.
said.
So, Jenny, I know you are, an outsider looking into our American legal system. Do you feel like that
Yes.
jury duty is is it giving to you the impression that the system works or that the system doesn't work?
I think it's well, I think that they came to the right verdict.
Hmm.
But I would say that this would not be giving
Like,
me really good feelings
yeah,
about the
was this a
system.
case in favor of criminal justice reform, or do you feel like that it's making you feel like, you know what, the system works?
I think I think the system still needs some attention. I
Mhm.
don't think
But did this and I think most people would agree with that. But did this highlight some of the issues with the system?
precisely, yes, quite
Because
a
I
few,
almost feel like
many
that
issues.
jury duty was like a almost like Pollyanna-ish example of like the system working like it's supposed to. Like this was giving like 12 Angry Men of like, one like impassioned, like good-hearted foreman of a jury making
Right.
sure that an innocent man got off the stand. Like this was like, I think that most people probably walk away from jury duty feeling like, oh yeah,
I love the US justice system.
yeah,
It
justice
play
system prevails. Justice is
See,
served.
but that's being results oriented and not looking at all of the things along the way that were so bad,
Right.
like that were so not the way that any of this should ever play out. Like, yes, ultimately they got to the right destination, but I think that you can't ignore all of the faults along the way in this process. Like, there's no
But they
way
weren't
that these
highlighted,
people.
like, it really was not part of the and again, it's a comedy, so I don't
Right.
think they wanted to
Well, and
explore, like, dark themes.
they
Yeah.
can't highlight too much of, like, what is wrong because they're trying to give the illusion that this is real for, I mean, we get the judge saying, like, "This is the most unorthodox case I've ever," which is not
Mhm.
untrue. This is the only case that he's ever presided over.
Yes.
But, I don't know. Like, I just don't think it's realistic, all of these things that were happening, like, how much the jury is getting to, like, even Phil, when we were watching this, he's like, "I'm pretty sure if you're a juror and you sleep with one of the other jurors, like, that's a big problem." Like, that becomes, like,
Yeah, I
doesn't
never thought about that.
I feel like there
Now
are
is did they
so
tech
many
is
cases where
well, that's
it,
a great
like.
point that Phil raises. Now, my question is, now did they technically sleep with each other, Jenny?
Mm, well, I think
Because
that
in
is
the eyes
in the
of
eyes of God
God,
at this
I think
point.
it's unclear. And it's a blind eye of justice.
Right.
Is soaking, sleeping together in the eyes of the law?
Can't believe how many times I've had to discuss soaking on podcasts in my time, because
What
it's
other
definitely not the
podcast are you talking
first.
about it?
I
90
honestly
Day?
can't remember, Rob,
Oh.
but it's happened. I feel like maybe
Mhm.
I truly cannot remember, but this is not the first time I have discussed
I talk about the
soaking.
Soka tribe every week.
Yeah, I think it's a little
Is that
different.
that's Matt and Franny's tribe. Uh-oh.
Oh,
The
no.
Soka tribe.
I don't think any soaking took place on the island. After
Yes.
that, I can't speak for that.
Yes.
Um,
Okay.
but I don't know. I still think that if you start because all of these people were not supposed to know each other going into this, right? Like,
Mhm.
you shouldn't have people on the jury that have a relationship with each other, because we even see this come up in the deliberation episode where Noah is now, like, just fixated on Jeannie and is doing whatever she says and isn't even thinking for himself. So I do think that whether you're calling the soaking like legitimately sex, two jurors beginning a relationship of some
Mhm.
sort, whether it just be mildly physical to, we get Noah calling Jeannie his girlfriend later.
Mhm.
I think that definitely causes mistrial, right?
Yeah.
Or they both get booted. What happens? They both get booted from
Oh,
the
throw it.
jury. They only have
Yeah.
James left.
Yeah.
Do you think they bring Tim back from the hospital?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't, maybe we're like some of our legal experts out there could
Yeah.
weigh in. I think this probably should have been a mistrial.
Oh,
Like, I
it
think at
definitely
the
should
point,
have.
especially when we get to the point at the end of the trial where the chemicals come into play, and
All of
then
the evidence that didn't get
yeah,
presented that
and
keeps
the
getting
judge
brought
says,
up.
"Don't ignore that evidence and don't
Just ignore
include
that.
it. Just
That's what
ignore
they do,
that you
right?
didn't hear that." Yeah, I kind of feel like this probably should have been a mistrial, but yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't even think about whether or not the jurors potentially. I'm saying potentially sleeping together because we haven't
Yeah.
established that
We
soaking
haven't
is sleeping together.
they weren't sleeping. They were
Mhm.
awake,
They were
and
awake
James
in a
Marsden
bed
was there.
naked with body parts like intertangled and James
Yeah.
Marsden jumping on the bed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I still think that despite how you land on the is this sex or not sex, you have to admit that this probably is not something that they allow on the jury.
On the
They
jury.
don't
Otherwise,
want two jurors doing
yeah.
this.
Yes. Okay. Well, maybe more people would sign up for jury duty if that was allowed.
Well, here's the thing, we find people like, Big Brother, these shows that people Survivor, Like, shows that you are cut off from society, you're not on your phone, you're not on the internet, your day-to-day life is on pause, and you are immersed with a group of people
Mm-hmm.
under whatever circumstances. You grow relationships, and some of these turn into real romantic relationships.
Yeah.
So in a situation where a jury is truly sequestered, if it looks even a little bit like this, I have to
Mm-hmm.
imagine it's not out of the question that people would bond and perhaps a romance could blossom.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
maybe you try to pick such different people that you're like, I can't imagine this would happen. Whereas like reality casting, they're purposely trying to find people that they know are going to hook up.
Yeah.
I don't
Jenny,
know.
would you
Yes.
be a bed jumper
Oh no.
for
I shouldn't have said
friends,
yes before the question.
for friends who were soakers?
Listen, I support my friends in their endeavors,
Mm-hmm.
and as long as they are not hurting anyone and everyone is
You would do it.
consenting.
Yeah.
No,
You
I
jump
don't
on
want
the
to be a
bed.
part of it. I don't want to be a
Oh.
part of it. I would be a wing woman in the way that Ronald was. You know, I am totally down to like help people grow confidence and
He
like be
seemed to
around
be
people.
actually pretty, as long as you don't need me to jump on the bed.
I don't want to
He
be
established
present
that pretty, yeah.
for two people
If it was
engaging
two
in
people
acts.
you knew, it would be weird. Maybe if it was only one person you knew and the other person was a stranger.
No, I'm still
So only for two strangers you would do it.
No, I don't even think for two strangers. I just like Rob, you really think listen, I am a supportive person.
But Jenny, just think about it. One, is jumping on a bed fun in the first place? Yes.
It is.
Undeniably.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
You're
Sometimes the
jumping.
beds aren't very like jump friendly.
Sure. Now I'd be kind of concerned about falling into the pile. Like I feel like
exactly. I am not a very graceful person. Like I am
And
that
then, like,
person
how
that's
big is
jumping
the
on the
bed?
bed
How
and
big is the
falls.
bed? Yeah.
Like I
This is a
potentially
good
am
question.
responsible for an injury and not my own. Like Jeannie becomes impaled. Like
Yeah.
or perhaps he's out for a second and
Oh
there's
yeah.
an injury.
Yeah.
There's an injury.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I think I could be talked into being a bed jumper.
Rob, you dirty dog.
That's a lot. Look, that's a lot of power for, you're bringing like you're basically the DJ.
You're the DJ. You're the soundtrack.
Yeah, well, it's like all right, like
What if they
big
ask you to
jumps, little
sing?
jump, yeah. Yeah,
Would you-
singing, no. I'm not there to like
What about
entertain.
humming? What about
Humming?
mouth
No,
trumpet?
No, come on.
Come
That's
on,
getting
a little
I think that's
sexy mouth
getting I think that's
trumpet.
getting weird now at that point.
Oh, that's when it's getting weird, Rob. You just
That's
jumping
why.
on the bed next to two naked people. That's not the weird part. It's the mouth trumpet that makes it real weird.
Yeah. Well, before we get to that, Ronald is he's practicing his lines with James Marsden.
Oh my gosh, this was so wonderful.
You loved it.
I loved this. It was so pure. I loved all of the stuff that showed how like much of like a team player Ronald was. That he was like, yeah, sure, I will sit here and get into character and like really like help you with these lines, like doing the same thing over and over with this annoying ass actor. Like I thought that was incredible. The fact that like Ronald was like putting on his own accent, like getting into the lines, even though like realistically, like if you're just like the producer or whatever, like reading the line, like feeding the lines to the actor, you're not doing it like in a voice. You're just like giving the line. But like Ronald was getting so into it, like he was like building his own character that he was. It was so funny to me. I don't know. This is the stuff that really gets me.
Do you think that Ronald will get any acting opportunities after this, Jenny?
Well, it's funny because when James Marsden gets the phone call about the gig, Phil yelled out, he's like, "Oh my God, they want Ronald."
Yeah.
And so that's what he thought was going to happen, was that like Ronald did such a great job that they were going to be like, oh, but sorry, they really want to talk to Ronald though. Do you have his number?
Mhm.
That would have been freaking hilarious.
Yeah. But it really was all just like a ruse to get like Ronald gets interrupted, and then James Marsden uses the bathroom.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole storyline about James Marsden clogging the toilet.
Yeah. Big turd in there, as he said.
Mhm, mhm.
It was so gross. Yeah. So while Ronald is playing wingman and taking Noah to Jeannie, which was also hilarious when he's like hiding, looking for his shoes. Yeah, James Marsden's in the bathroom and just completely, and we got to see it, even though we know it's not real. And like Ronald is just such a chill guy. First of all, just like leaves James Marsden in his room, says like, are you trusting this guy? I don't know. I was like, I feel like there's just something about James Marsden where I'm like, do I really want to leave him alone in my room?
I wonder, do you have a different reaction when it's a famous person has like defaced your toilet as opposed to like
That's
a
some famous poop in
random
there.
person?
You
know?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, do you think
Like,
that
if Noah
respects it more?
destroyed the bathroom, does and not the star of Sex Drive?
I think that Ronald's just the kind of guy that's
This
like,
was a
hey,
toilet rim uprising.
it was literally, the poop was upright. It was fully like
Yeah.
upright in the
Yes.
bowl.
Yes.
I think Ronald's just the kind of guy that's like, hey man, that happens. Like, this is his thing. He's constantly being like, you know what? Sometimes a little poop.
Yeah.
Big poop.
Relatable. Yeah.
Like, he's just so chill. That's why he's like such a perfect person for this, because all of these weird things are happening and he's kind of just like, he's encouraging of people. He's like, hey, it's all good. No worries. Like, he's supportive.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even mind that it got blamed on him.
Yeah, but like that didn't really come back to
It's just a
like
plumber, right?
it was
Like,
just the random plumber that came through.
why does he care if this random
Yeah,
plumber
like
thought he took a big
whatever.
dump?
I'll cover for James Marsden. Maybe we'll hang out after this is all over.
Maybe he'll introduce me to celebrities.
Do you think that James Marsden is hanging out with Ross after this is over?
So we saw the photos. We saw like a few photos at the end where it's like they actually all kept in touch. I don't believe I saw any photos of James.
I don't think James
Marsden.
Marsden is hanging out too much with the rest of the cast of this.
Yeah, because I think the difference between James Marsden and the rest of these people, besides the fact that like James Marsden is like more of a legitimate celebrity and like an actual household name, is that like he's had experience, not like this, but he's been a part of like, you know, movies and casts and has spent a lot of time with people that he's doing a project with. So it's not like a first time sort of situation. He's probably spent this kind of time with other people as well.
Yeah.
I think that he probably has an affection for all of these people, and it was definitely like a different experience than everything else he's ever done. But I don't think that this hits as special to him than it would all of the other actors.
Yeah. For James Marsden, like, I mean, he has done like a pretty good job of like promoting this. He's been like doing like a lot of interviews. He's like posting pictures on his Instagram.
Well, I mean,
and stuff
why
like
not?
that. Yeah, why not? Like, he's not like shying away from it. And James Marsden, it comes across really great all throughout this. He comes across as like really hilarious.
I hated him and loved him at the same time. Like, it was like he, you know, like the fact that I knew he was like not playing, even though he was playing James Marsden, it's like he's playing like this version of him. But I don't know, like the fact that he made me feel things matters. Now, on the note of, is Ronald and James Marsden hanging out, did you see the TikTok that Randy Newpol tagged us in?
No.
Okay, so I'm just opening it now. There was a rematch.
A rematch?
There was a rematch of
the arm wrestling?
The arm wrestle.
Yes. And what happened? Did James Marsden really smoke him?
I think James Marsden is smoking him. I think he's
Yeah.
about to win. He won.
Well, Kiva pointed out that Ronald is 6'6".
Oh my God, tall king.
Yes, tall king for sure. So I don't know. He does like I don't know if that maybe you want a lower center of gravity on arm wrestling.
Yeah, you want to be like more of like a thick king, right? Like you want to
Thick
be
king. Yes.
you want to be a little bit more compact and like have more
Yeah.
like center strength or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not clear to me. It does look like it's in a Margaritaville, so I don't know if this when this happened, but it appears that there was at least a rematch at some
A
point. So
reunion.
I maybe it looked like they had like a dinner. We saw that in like the episode 8 where they had like a post reveal dinner. So maybe it was just there. Like James
Mm-hmm.
Marsden might have just been like done his duty. he did a duty.
Yeah, and
Um
then
in
left.
the
And
hotel
then
toilet.
yeah.
I think that maybe he did the reunion dinner or whatever, and then he's out. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
who's to say?
Okay.
I hope that he at least. I hope they're like Facebook friends or something. I don't
I
know.
hope so. I don't
Do they
think
have
James
Facebook?
Marsden a big big
Facebook.
Facebook guy. Yeah.
I can see it.
Good question. Good question. One of the other storylines that goes on is that that we see where Ronald gets into playing a game of
Ute.
yes.
It's
Yes.
a real game.
Yes. Yeah, I'm familiar with this from The Genius. Jenny, did
That's
you
what
ever
Phil said.
yes,
Yeah.
did you ever
Yeah.
watch from The
I didn't
Genius?
watch The Genius,
I believe they
so
called it Tactical Yutnori on The
yes,
Genius.
that's what. So he Googled it. But I think
And you would
Ron.
like throw the sticks down, but there was
Yeah.
no like special spot
So
where if it
the
landed on the
rules.
line.
I believe the rules as explained to Ronald were not the real rules, but the game
Right.
itself is like so all the pieces that he had I think are actually real and this is a real game, but the way that it was taught to Ronald was not true. But
Right. It
Ken
has
says
to
it's
do
like
with the way
Monopoly
that like the sticks land like
like
that
mean certain
determines
things with the
yes.
circles and then
Yes.
so Ken is like really into gambling and so he tries to get Ronald to play this game with him. I think he throws down what like a couple dollars and then like Ronald's like I only got 20s. So he throws down a 20 and then there's like this big thing where there's like a 100 multiplier and now
Mm-hmm.
suddenly Ken owes Ronald $2,000. To which he spends the rest of the show like his whole thing is just being like yeah so I gotta pay you my debt.
Yeah.
Ronald just being like dude you don't owe me
I don't
$2,000.
want to get involved with this. Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Um, and so, would anybody take the money from Ken?
I don't think you could.
No.
He's too especially well also if you're Ronald and you're like because we get this confessional where he's like yeah so he teaches me this game Ute and this is how I learned that Ken is really into gambling. So he can see in the way that Ken is that like he's a gambler so he's probably like how much money has he lost? Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
need this game that I knew nothing about that I just got lucky out of nowhere and he's only making this money because I didn't have anything like less than a 20 in my pocket. Like he's probably like please do not pay me this money. You probably have lost so much money that you shouldn't have because of your gambling addiction. So this is a good example of good guy Ronald. Do
Mm-hmm.
you think that Ronald takes the money if it's somebody else? James
Like
Marsden,
I
definitely.
think if
But
it's like in a game where like if they like gambled on like some like sports game or like something like that you know Brandon or sorry, Ronald knows what now I can't stop
I know
that
it's so funny to me.
Ronald like knows the rules of
Yeah.
it's like I don't
Because
even
he
know what
feels like
happened. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, because I think Ronald doesn't feel good even winning because he didn't even really understand what he was doing. And like Ken does such a great job like playing this where he's like asking every scenario. He's like, "Is this touching? Is this in the circle? Is this in the line?" And he's like, "Oh my god, this is so unlucky for me." And he seems
Hmm.
very stressed. So it's like, how do you feel good about taking this money from this man? That like there was no way that he would have chosen for you to like put in that much money. Um But yeah, this it was really cute. I loved all the character stuff, even though knowing it was all like fake characters. I just think that would be so much fun. Like, how much fun would it be to be like a character, have like set quirks and storyline that you have to like, abide by, and then ultimately improv, like interact with someone who
Well,
doesn't
I think it would
know.
be very
I think it'd be so
stressful, though. I
fun.
think it
It
would
would
be
be
like
so
it might.
stressful.
It would be fun in like, oh my god, like what a rush. But like if you were the one that blew it, Jenny, could you
Oh,
imagine?
I know. And that would be my
Like
biggest fear as
the
well.
entire production, all this work, millions of dollars
Yeah,
spent.
for
Like
nothing,
you
just to
blew
blow
it
it.
because you
Yeah.
said the wrong thing.
Yeah. But that's why I think having the characters be like just kind of eccentric versions of them, like the fact that like we find out that Ken is like speaking like so much slower than he naturally does. Like I feel like that would be like one of the hardest things to do, cuz
Hmm.
like these other people, they're like, they're speaking pretty similar to how they normally would, but they have like certain storyline quirks that they have to like kind of keep going where but I just like especially the deliberation episode, like imagine having to like talk about the case and like have your own like agenda that it's like, okay, well, like you really these are your values. Like I just think like the character study of it all would be really really fun. But yes, the stress of potentially being the person that blows it would be terrible.
Yeah,
But I think it would just be fun to be like an eccentric version of yourself. And you're
I am
like
every
finding
day.
these opportunities to like show that character as things come up. Like that's fascinating to me.
Hmm.
I want to do this.
Yeah, but could you be a totally different character?
Totally different? I don't know
Yeah.
if I could be totally different, but do you think that any of these people were totally different? I think that they were just like extreme versions of like the kind of person you think they might be,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
Is Jeannie or is the actress that played Jeannie Jeannie?
She literally said in the episode 8 we get like a clip of her audition video, and then we get this like confessional from her being like, I've always wanted to have someone have me kind of just be who I am,
Yeah. What
and
about
I feel like I'm
Officer
getting to do
Nikki?
that.
She said she would never be a cop.
Well, no, but I think that she just loves the idea of like, I'm gonna be a bailiff and I'm gonna be the best damn bailiff you've ever
Mhm.
met. Like that, like, I think for some people, like it's different the level of like
What
character that
about
they were doing.
Judge Allen?
Well, he knows enough about
Cranky
a judge
judges.
because he was an attorney. Like that's the
Mhm.
that's the fun part about it, is that like you had people, like none of these people are like 100% actors.
Yeah.
Like they have their own like other things that they've done in their life to use that to like, and I think it only works if you've got people like that, because you can't have like 100% people like actors that don't have like other life experiences to like make them appear more normal.
Mhm. One of the other storylines that we haven't talked about yet. So it's Ross's birthday, and we finally got the payoff to Ross's storyline. Ross, everybody loves Ross. He seems like the nicest guy. We're gonna go ahead and get the birthday party going for Ross. And even though James Marsden doesn't know who he is, then James Marsden shows up at the birthday party.
Before Ross
He
is there. Yeah.
Before Ross is there, assumes that the cake is for him to cheer him up for losing the
Lone
part
Pine.
in the movie,
Mhm.
and then he destroys the birthday cake.
This scene like drove me crazy because I was just imagining like trying to be anyone in this scene, and like the fact that we had to have like a cake, like James Marsden shows up and like throws the cake and like loses his mind, and like this is where you see Ronald turn on James, and I like
Hmm.
it because that's how like Ronald is a good person. Like he truly is a good person because like, he's been kind of entertaining James's BS this whole time. But like this was a bridge too far for Ronald, where he was like, I can't believe you selfish POS like made this about you again for like the 300th time, and you're ruining this nice person's birthday that we all like care about, and you don't even know his name. You don't know who he is. Like the pureness that we saw of his soul, you could see it on his face, and we got to see the behind the scenes afterwards of like how this scene played out. Like just oh my god, I feel like that would be probably one of the most stressful scenes to be one of the actors in.
Yeah. But it was a great moment.
It was so funny. And then
Mhm.
we finally get the payoff of
Sonia.
I told you, I said there's the only thing we know about Ross
Sure.
is he's got a wife named Sonia that he talks about all the time. And ultimately his character is just that he's been lying about his relationship with Sonia. They've been separated for 8 months. He's a big liar, guys.
Mhm. Yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, at least she showed up to, like, tell him.
She showed up to basically say, "Why is this random woman calling me?" Like
Mhm.
the detail of such like mundane I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's that mundane, but it's like it's low key enough that like they had to have characters that had like little quirks that added to the storyline, but not so major. Like not everything could be the biggest thing. So it's like I really loved that they had characters like Ross where like his thing is just that he talks about his wife all the time and it turns out he's been lying and they're separated and he's like really leaning on all of these people and is ultimately going to be like kind of prolonging this process for everyone. Like I just don't think that this works without storylines like that. Like I just really really love that there were
Mhm.
lower level characters that were like
It was an
quirky
escape
enough.
room.
Yeah. Well,
Like, there were, like, things that, like, Ronald needed to figure out, like, along the
yeah.
way. Like, like,
Yeah, he
all the
needed to piece
pieces of the
together.
puzzle, like, fit ultimately.
Yes. And like I'm really glad that not everything was like kooky from the start like I said. Like you couldn't have all the characters at 10 from the start. So the slow
Mhm.
burning of it all was like really really good.
Yeah. Um, Episode 7 was, all about the deliberation,
Mhm.
and to me, that I did feel like that this was a little bit like, I felt like it was, like, a little bit of a different show.
Yes, because I almost felt like everyone in the room at that point was playing closer to who they are as a real person because they didn't have as many like quirky things that could happen. But I noticed people drawing upon their character and their character's values when discussing the case.
Mhm.
Like, I thought that part was interesting, but it's like, I don't know if it needed to be a whole episode, I guess, maybe.
Right.
It could have been like half the episode. If
Right,
you
'cause,
wanted to
for
shorten it.
me, like, the drama and the stakes were not there, like, I know this is, like, a courtroom show, and I feel like if this was, like, a normal courtroom show, like, seeing the jury deliberate, like, would be, like, really, like, the most interesting part of the show. That's, like, the 12
Mhm.
Angry Men, but, here we know that it's fake.
Mhm.
We sort of, like, have gotten that, like, I don't know if they wanted there to be some sort of like mystery in terms of like what actually happened, but we were kind of hit over the head with the idea of that there were chemicals, the toxicology report came back, and ultimately Ronald is, very much like fighting for the defendant to get off.
Yeah, Ronald was in his, like, attorney bag during this whole episode, and honestly, I think that maybe Ronald gave them so much that they didn't expect in terms of his leadership and being like, solely responsible for them getting it together,
Mhm.
that I think that's maybe why they used so much of that footage because this was probably important in the message of this this guy's story is worth awarding like what a like he did such an incredible job, we're gonna give him 100K.
Mhm.
So I think that like because one of the fun parts about this is that like production was kind of like learning along the way about him and like how he was handling things. So I think that like along the way they were like, oh my god, like this guy's incredible, like this he's giving us so much, and like watching him be the foreperson of the jury and like the way that he pulled together the case and like got everyone there. Like, I think that they just felt like that was such an important explanation for why, Ronald was such a great person and like the hero of the story. So as much as I think it could have been like shorter, I think that they were just probably like blown away by like
Mhm.
because he was very impressive in that room. Like he he didn't want to do this job, and he wasn't comfortable in a leadership position and speaking in front of people. But like we saw him, he was killing it. So I think that they had to include a lot of that. But ultimately, like in terms of driving the plot, like I don't think that there was like a ton happening there, except for we get like Ross, trying to like hold them back by being like the lone liable
Did
vote.
Ronald ultimately suss that out? How did we get that information?
I believe someone said it's Ross. I
Yeah.
think I don't know if it was Vanessa or someone said at some point like it's definitely Ross. He doesn't want to leave, and then they get Ronald to take him outside to talk to him.
Yeah.
And like it was a cute part, like, and it was again like more stuff for Ross's character, but you know, that part definitely could have been shorter, but it was interesting. It was definitely a different like vibe of the rest of the case. But it was like the transitional piece between like wacky stuff going on during the actual case, leading into okay, we're getting ready for this to end, and like the resolution of it all. So
yeah. And ultimately we get that Ronald stands up in front of the court and says that the jury comes back not guilty
not
and
liable.
not liable. Sorry.
Yes.
And we get our big reveal about what was going on. What did you think of Ronald's reaction?
It was great. I mean, it's what I expected, to be honest. Like I didn't think that he would be mad. He seems like such an even-tempered kind of guy, and like also how are you going to be upset when you get so we lead into episode 8 because we get the like cut off at the end of episode 7 where the judge says, I told you this was my last case. What I didn't tell you is also it's my first, and like I'm not a real judge. These are all actors. And Ronald goes, what? So
Yeah.
we lead into the next thing, and then the judge continues and says, like, there was a real trial here, and like lists all of the incredible things that Ronald had done, like the way that he, like,
Okay. But could he have failed?
could he have failed?
Yes. Could he have
I
done such
mean,
a like if he was a bad guy, would they have not given him $100,000?
I think they were always going to give them money because I think that they needed to have something to give the person for their trouble and for basically being like, sorry, we manipulated you through this whole process, but here is your prize. Essentially it is a reality show in a way, so here's your prize for
You're
getting to the end.
famous.
But I don't think that they necessarily planned for all of the things that Ronald ended up doing. Like I know they wanted him to be like sympathetic towards Todd, because like we even hear, Todd discuss that his character was supposed to be like really into like technology and cybernetics or whatever, and like you're supposed to like he's become like a more sympathetic character over time, but like they can't predict how lovely and encouraging Ronald was. Like Ronald could have just been like ignoring Todd a lot of the time. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different ways that this could have gone, and I think that they got like such an incredible result from him that like it was easy for them to have this wonderful moment to like point to the things that he did, all of these opportunities for him to like, act in
Yeah.
a more selfish way, and the way that he conducted himself. So I can't imagine being upset when that is what you're presented with. Here's $100,000, and also you're such an incredible person and a great sport. Like, what are you gonna be like? I'm pissed off and walk away? No, you're probably gonna be like, what? But he handled it so well. He's laughing. We get to see him like being like, even after the judge already said like bailiff Nikki, like lists all the people. These are all actors, and we see him still go up to
Yeah.
bailiff Nikki and be like, "You're not a cop."
Yeah, it was funny when like there was a couple other things that he was like recounting, and it's like, oh, the people in the restaurant were fake, like
Like
yeah.
everything, like, yeah, because he's like, it takes him so long to like figure out every single thing, because it's like he's trying to figure out like what parts of reality were like weaved in, and then he was like, oh my god, like Margaritaville, like nothing could have been, like none of that was real. It was real. Like I literally could have watched like a couple more hours of episode 8. Like I really wish that there was more of that piece, because I just thought like I would love a reunion, like a full reunion where like they go through like and we got a bit of it. Like we got like the parts of them like sitting in like the jury format where they're all sitting there talking about certain things that came up along the way. But like I just feel like there had to have been like endless different things. Like everyone's probably got a story of like, oh my God, there was this one time where you and I
Sure.
off camera were having a conversation. Like so many things the cameras might not have even caught fully. Like I just think that that part was so entertaining. And Rob, I have to say, this is the first show that you and I have covered together that brought a tear to my eye.
Oh,
I
you
got
cried?
emotional. Tears did not fall out of my eyes,
Yeah.
but I had to fix my eye makeup after. Uh
Wow.
because some of my eyeliner had gotten wet from my wet eye. Um because I got emotional when they were when the judge was telling Ronald like how incredible he was, and like just seeing like them all talk about like how much they enjoyed him, and like like seeing them say like that was still a lot of us, like all the bonding time we had, like that's still a lot of, I don't know, I just thought it was so sweet. It was like such a feel good ending for me, and I am a soft bitch, as I've said many times before, so this really got me in the heart. I just thought it was like such a
It
feel
did have a
good.
lot of
And
heart.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's a what was it said about the organ? It's like one of the
The
least
imperfect, yeah.
perfect. Yeah, the imperfect organ.
Mhm, mhm.
So,
Yeah, that was
yeah,
a good
I did
callback.
get a little misty.
Yeah, that was really good. All right,
Yeah.
Jenny, anything else you wanna say about jury duty?
It was just,
We
yeah, it
loved
was
it.
front to back, it was just like a really fun viewing experience. I don't like I've never covered anything like this before. So I'm used to like watching things that are like almost so painful that we're like trying to find the
Mhm.
absurd in it. Whereas like this was a different experience where they were like throwing the absurd at us, obviously. Um and I enjoyed that too. It was really fun to like watch something that I like truly fully enjoyed and I'm not picking apart or like making fun of. So I enjoyed it, but I think that like it will nothing we do will ever be like this. I think this is just like a special thing that we've done, and I'm grateful that we got to watch it and talk about it because it was just such a great show.
It's the beauty
So
of
good.
Hit or Quit. We would still be watching Farmer Wants a Wife.
I would have had to watch this on my own, and maybe I wouldn't have watched it. I don't
Mhm,
know. So I'm grateful that we, you know, the whatever hourglass got smashed and we
mhm.
quit Farmer Wants a Wife, we quit Race to Survive in
We're
Alaska.
bouncing around, we found something we liked,
Yeah.
we're back on the search for something. I think what we're gonna try to do, that we are gonna see if we can maybe track down, we'll make it a mission to see if we can
Mhm.
track down somebody from jury duty.
I would love that, Rob.
If we can work that out,
Yeah.
I think that's what we should do next time for Hit or Quit.
Yeah, I think that we could a little bookend on this where we could get like a post show type
Mhm.
situation, because I still have so many
Let's
questions, and I
reunite
think
the
like
jury.
I would love that. I would love that. So I think that that sounds good, especially if there's
Sam,
like
see if
not
you can get
anything
James
where
Marsden.
let's get them. I don't know. There's so many of them. I think literally any of them could have
Mhm.
like really good stories to tell, and I have so many questions, like I
Yeah.
said. So
Okay, so that's what
I'm
we'll
on
do
board.
next time. So, the show's such a hit, we're gonna keep talking about it even after it's over.
Yeah. I'll keep
Okay?
talking about it in my real life, like,
Yeah, why not?
so
Good, tell everybody to
yeah.
watch it.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Jenny, what else is coming up for you?
Nothing. That's it.
Mhm.
Just enjoying life, and
Wow.
go Leafs go, and
Enjoying
I'm just
life. That sounds so nice.
I truly have been under the weather the last week, but I'm starting to feel a
Relatable.
little bit
Yeah.
better. Yeah, something hit us, and now it's quitting us, and we're both gonna be feeling better
Mhm.
soon. And again, looking forward to our little reunion, Rob. Good to
Yep.
see you
It'd
in
be
like
nice
less than
to
2
see,
weeks.
yeah, nice to see you, in, a couple of
Toronto,
weeks when we're gonna be up in
my
Toronto.
birthplace. Yeah.
Yes. So, looking forward to that. And of course, check out everything else we have going on here on Rob Has a Podcast. You can find everything in our podcast feeds at robhasawebsite.com/subscribe. Thank you so much for joining us for Hit or Quit this week. We'll be back next time. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.